Why is there a row over border fencing? What is the dispute between India and Bangladesh? How much of the border has been fenced? In January, India and Bangladesh exchanged words over security measures at the border, including issues around fencing, with both countries summoning diplomats and sending a message about protocols and past agreements. India shares its longest border with Bangladesh, with 4,000, which is 4,000 kilometers. After the regime change in Bangladesh last August, disputes have erupted at several places over border fencing, while Bangladeshi officials allege that tensions have arisen at 5 places along the border because of fencing. The government of India has reiterated its commitment to ensuring a crime-free border. The annual report of Ministry of Home Affairs for the year 23-24 points out that the total length of India-Bangladesh border of 4096.7 km, about 78% or 3196 km, has been fenced. India's border with Bangladesh passes through 5 states: Assam, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Tripura, and West Bengal, and it is guarded by 6 frontiers of the Border Security Force: Assam Frontier, Meghalaya Frontier, Mizoram and Kachar Frontier, Tripura Frontier, North Bengal Frontier, and South Bengal Frontier. While in some frontiers over 80% of the border is fenced, in some other areas the fencing has not even crossed 50%. For instance, in the Meghalaya frontier, out of 443 km, 367 km has been fenced, whereas in the South Bengal frontier, which guards about 913 km from Sundarbans to Malda, only about 405 km has been covered by fencing. For instance, in the Meghalaya frontier, out of 443 km, 367 km has been fenced, whereas in the South Bengal frontier, which guards about 913 km from Sundarbans to Malda, only about 405 km has been covered by the fencing. The disparities in border fencing is because of the challenging terrain and habitations too close to the international border. For instance, 364 km of 903 border, 903 km of the border guarded by South Bengal frontier is riverine, with each Ichamati and Padma serving as the international border between the two countries. Ministry of Home Affairs report notes that there have been some problems in the construction of fencing in certain stretches on this border, while the river and chars formed in along the river pose geographical challenges to erecting fences. Sometimes the border population resists fencing as it can create obstacles in accessing their land close to the international border. The 1975 Joint India Border Bangladesh Guidelines for the Border Authorities states that after the identifiable boundary line where the real or working has been fixed, neither side will have any temporary, permanent, or temporary border security forces or any other armed personnel within 150 yards on either side of this line. No permanent post will be constructed till the final demarcation has been done and the problem is resolved. In places where the border population is settled close to the international border and fencing is required within 150 yards, both countries have mutually agreed on it. The 1975 India-Bangladesh Guidelines for Border Authority states that after the identifiable boundary line where the real or working has been fixed, neither side will have any permanent or temporary border security forces or any other armed personnel within 150 yards on either sides of this line. No permanent post will be constructed till the final demarcation has been done and the problem is resolved. In places where the border population is settled close to international border and fencing is required within 150 yards, both countries have to mutually agree on it. Recently, disputes have emerged in cities where the BSF authorities claim that their counterparts, border guards Bangladesh, had agreed on erecting fences but are not honoring the agreements made before August 24. Director General of BSF Daljit Singh Chaudhary said, even if certain areas are unfenced along the border, it does not necessarily mean that infiltration or other cross-border activities are going on. He pointed out whether there are such gaps, technological solutions are used like floodlights, cameras, and drones. What lies ahead? There is a push from the Government of India to complete fencing on the remaining stretches. while the political rhetoric of accusing the BSF for lapses in border management by the ruling Trinamool Congress continues in West Bengal at a policy level. The state government agrees that there is a need for border to be fenced. In January 25, the West Bengal cabinet approved the allocation of 0.959 acres of land in Karimpur to the BSF for setting up fences, despite disputes emerging on Malda Rajshahi and Kuch Bihar Lal Mornirhat border. Border guards of both countries have exercised restraints and held talks to ease the situation. Since August 5, 2024, after the unrest in Bangladesh, BSF carried out many SCP simultaneous coordinating patrolling to keep vigil and held 643 border meetings with Border Guard Bangladesh. A press statement by the BSF stated on December 1, 2024, the issue of border fencing is also likely to dominate the Director General level talks between BSF and BGB scheduled to be held on February 16 to February 20. Has China achieved a breakthrough in AI? When was DeepSeek launched? What does it claim to do better than existing players? How does it compare with OpenAI? Why was the earlier Chinese AI bot Ernie bot not as successful as DeepSeek, and why it has shaken the AI world? What lies ahead? In April 23, Chinese hedge fund Highflyer that uses AI for trading set up its own AI lab DeepSeek to build large language models. In less than a year, the AI spin-off developed DeepSeek V version 2 that performed well on several benchmarks, and when DeepSeek version 3 was launched in December, it stunned AI companies as it performed far better than its predecessor and at a significantly lower cost than the other Chinese LLM. Subsequently, the startup launched DeepSeek R1, Highflyer's most advanced reasoning AI model that was on par with OpenAI's O1 model on several metrics. R1's leading performance at a much reduced cost per user jolted the US tech giants and spooked investors as they fretted that its emergence would threaten the dominance of current AI leaders like Nvidia. For over 2 years, San Francisco based OpenAI dominated AI with its generative pre-trained models. For over 2 years, San Francisco based OpenAI dominated AI with its generative pre trained models. The startup chatbots penned poems, wrote long format stories, found bugs in code, and helped search the internet a little bit with a cutoff date. In March 23, Baidu received the government approval to launch its AI chatbot Ernie Bot. Ernie was touted as China's answer to ChatGPT after the bot received over 30 million user signups within a day in its launch, but the initial euphoria around Ernie gradually ebbed as the bot fumbled and dodged questions about China's President Xi Jinping, the Tiananmen Square crackdown, and alleged human rights violation against the Uyghur Muslims. For over 2 years, San Francisco-based OpenAI dominated AI with its generative pre-trained models. The startup chatbot penned poems, wrote long-format stories, found bugs in code, and helped search the internet a little bit with a cutoff date. In March 23, Baidu received the government's approval to launch its AI chatbot ErnieBot. Ernie was touted as China's answer to ChatGPT after the bot received over 30 million user signups within a day of its launch, but the initial euphoria around Ernie gradually ebbed as the bot fumbled and dodged questions about China's president, Tiananmen Square crackdown, and alleged human rights violations against Uyghur Muslims. In response to the questions on these topics, the bot replied, "Let's talk about something else." As the hype around Ernie met the reality of Chinese censorship, several experts pointed the difficulty of building LLMs in the country. Google former CEO and chairman Eric Schmidt, in a talk on October 23, said they were late to the party. They didn't get to this AI space early enough. As Chinese tech giants trailed, the US tech titans marched ahead with their advances in LLM. Microsoft backed OpenAI cultivated a new crop of reasoning bots with its O series that were better than ChatGPT. These AI models were first to introduce inference time scaling, how an AI model handles increasing amounts of data when it is giving answers. These AI models were first to introduce inference time scaling. Inference time scaling, how an AI handles increasing amounts of data when it is giving answers. How an AI uses inference time scaling, how an AI model handles increasing amounts of data when it is giving answers. Inference time scaling, how the Chinese quant fund hedge flyer, however, the Chinese quant fund hedge flyers DeepSeek shook the tech world with its mixture of experts model, DeepSeek version 3, that was pre-trained on 14.8 trillion tokens with 671 billion parameters, of which 37 billion are activated for each token. A MOE model uses different experts or submodels that specialize in different aspects of language or task. Each expert is activated when it is relevant to a particular task. This makes the model more efficient, saves resources, and speeds up processing. According to a technical paper released in December, DeepSeek version 3 was trained for 2.78 million GPU hours using NVIDIA's H800 GPUs compared to Meta's Llama 3.1 training, which used NVIDIA H100 chips. DeepSeek v3 took 38 million GPU hours lesser. However, the Chinese quant fund Headflyer DeepSeek shook the world with its mixture of experts model, DeepSeek version 3, that was pre-trained, mixture of experts model, DeepSeek version 3, that was pre-trained on 14.8 trillion tokens with 671 billion parameters, of which 37 billions are activated for each token. A mixture of experts model uses different experts or submodels that specialize in different aspects of language or task. Each expert is activated when it's relevant to a particular task. This makes the model efficient, save resources, and speeds up processing. According to the technical paper released on December 26, 2024, DeepSeek v3 was trained for 2.78 million GPU hours using NVIDIA's 18 H800 GPUs. Compared to Meta's Llama 3.1 training, which used NVIDIA's H100 chips, DeepSeek v3 took 30.8 million GPU hours lesser. After seeing early successes in DeepSeek v3, Highflyer built its most advanced reasoning model, DeepSeek R10 and DeepSeek R1, that have potentially disrupted the AI industry by becoming one of the most cost-efficient models in the market. Compared to OpenAI O1, DeepSeek R1 cost slashed by a staggering 93% per API call. This is a huge advantage for businesses and developers looking to integrate AIs without breaking the bank. The savings don't stop there. Unlike older model, R1 can run through high-end local computers, so there's no need for costly cloud services or dealing with pesky rate limits. This gives users the freedom to run AI tasks faster and cheaper without relying on third-party infrastructure. Plus, R1 is designed to be memory efficient as it requires only a portion of RAM to operate, which is lower for an AI of its caliber. R1 is designed to be memory efficient as it requires only a portion of RAM to operate, which is low for an AI of its caliber. Separately, by batching the process of multiple tasks at once and leveraging the cloud, by batching the processing of multiple tasks at once and leveraging the cloud, the model further lower costs and speeds up performance, making it even more accessible for a wide range of users. While DeepSeek's R1 may not quite be advanced as OpenAI's O3, it is almost on par with O1 on several metrics. According to the benchmark data on both models on LiveBench, when it comes to overall performance, the O1 edges out R1 with a global average score of 75 compared to Chinese model 71.38. OpenAI's O1 continues to perform well on reasoning tasks with a nearly 99-point lead against its competitor, making it a go-to choice for complex problem solving, critical thinking, and language related tasks. Complex problem solving, critical thinking, and language related tasks. When it comes to coding, mathematics, and data analysis, the competition is tighter. Specifically in the data analysis, the R1 proves to be better in analyzing large data sets. One important area where R1 fails miserably is on topics censored in China. These elicit the same response as the Ernie bot. Unlike Ernie this time around, despite the reality of Chinese censorship, DeepSeek's R1 has soared in popularity globally. It has already surpassed major competitors like ChatGPT, Gemini, and Claude to become the number one downloaded app in the US. In India, DeepSeek is the third spot under the productivity, followed by Gmail and ChatGPT apps. While OpenAI's O4 continues to be the state of the art AI model, it continues state of the art AI model in the market. It is only a matter of time before other models could take the lead in building super intelligence. DeepSeek, through its distillation process, shows that it can effectively transfer the reasoning patterns of larger models into small models. DeepSeek through its distillation process. This means instead of training small models from scratch using reinforcement learning, which can be expensive, the knowledge and reasoning abilities acquired by the larger model can be transformed to smaller models, resulting in a better performance. While distillation could be a powerful method for enabling smaller models to achieve high performance, it has its limits. For instance, a distilled model tied to the teacher model will face the same limitation of the larger models. Also, distilled models may not be able to replicate the full range of capabilities or nuances of the larger model. While distillation is an effective tool for transferring existing knowledge, it may not be the path to a major paradigm shift in AI. That means the need for GPUs will increase as companies build more powerful intelligence models. From here, more compute power will be needed for training, running experiments, and exploring advanced methods for creating agents. What citizenship laws do countries follow? Why is Donald Trump trying to overrun more than a century of precedent on birthright citizenship? How will it affect Indian immigrants? What are the two principles followed around the world for granting citizenship? What is the law in India and in the neighborhood? In the gale of executive orders announced after Donald Trump assumed office in the second term, President issued diluting birthright citizenship, which has been written into the US Constitution since 1866. The order has been challenged in court in more than 20 states, and a federal judge has temporarily blocked it. If implemented, it will mean that children born to illegal immigrants as well as those illegally in the US or temporary visas for study, work or tourism purposes will not be eligible for automatic US citizenship. At least one parent must now be a US citizen or a legal permanent resident, the order says. The 14th Amendment of the US Constitution, which granted citizenship to all persons born or naturalized in the United States, subject to the jurisdiction thereof, was enacted in 1866 against the backdrop of the Civil War, which had just ended, and was an effort to guarantee equal civil and legal rights to black citizens. It was meant to overturn the infamous US Supreme Court ruling of 1857 in Dred Scott versus Stanford, which held that enslaved people brought to the US and their descendants could not be citizens of the country. The principle was challenged in the 1890s, the time of risking anti-immigrant sentiment, when Wong Kim Ark, born in the US as the son of Chinese national, went to visit relatives in China and was denied re-entry into the US on the grounds that he was not an American citizen. In 1898, Supreme Court upheld his citizenship, establishing that every citizen or subject of another country while domiciled here is within the allegiance and the protection and consequently subject to the jurisdiction of United States. Over a century later, Mr. Trump is seeking to contest the court's interpretation of jurisdiction, arguing in his executive order that the children of those unlawfully present or whose residence in the US is lawful but temporary are not subject to US jurisdiction. It was meant to overturn in the infamous US Supreme Court ruling of 1857 in Dred Scott versus Stanford, which held that enslaved people brought to the US and their descendants could not be citizens. The principle was challenged again in 1890s, rising anti-immigrant sentiment when Wong Kim Ark, born in US, the son of Chinese nationals, went with relatives in China, Wong Kim Ark, and was denied re-entry into the US on the grounds that he was not an American citizen. In 1898, the Supreme Court upheld his citizenship, establishing that every citizen or subject of another country while domiciled here is within the allegiance or the protection and consequently subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. Over a century later, Mr. Trump Over a century later, Mr. Trump is seeking to contest the court's interpretation of jurisdiction, arguing that in his executive order that children of those unlawfully present in whose residence of the in the US Over a century later, Mr. Trump is seeking to contest the court's interpretation of jurisdiction, arguing in his executive order that the children of those unlawfully present or whose residence in the US is lawful but temporary are not subject to US jurisdiction. His supporters rail against the practice of birth tourism or anchor babies where foreign uh, nationals seek to give birth in the US in the hope that these babies will be able to help their families migrate to the country as well. The US follows the principle of just soli right of the soil based on geography, regardless of the parental citizenship, as opposed to the jus sanguinis right of blood, which gives the citizenship based on nationality of the child's parents. According to the CIA's World Factbook, there are only 37 countries which currently enforce the jus soli principle, of which 29 are in America. Of the other 8, 2 are in the India's neighborhood, Nepal and Pakistan. Though the latter introduced a bill seeking to end this, Jus Soli historically allowed colonizers to quickly outnumber native populations as citizens. Countries that have traditionally built their national character through diverse immigrant populations have used Jus Soli as a way of integrating diversity into the common stream of nationhood, says Amitabh Mattu, Dean of the School of International Studies at the Jawaharlal Nehru University, adding that the countries protective of their culture and identity have generally followed the principle of jus sanguinis. Jus soli derives from an English common term, law, and until anti-immigrant backlash a few decades ago, was implemented in the UK and its most of the former colonies, including India. India offered automatic citizenship to all those born on Indian soil before 1987, including Citizenship Bill in 1950, Parliament in 1955. Then Home Minister Govind Vallabh Pant said, "The mere fact of the birth in India invests with its the right of citizenship in India, and we have taken a cosmopolitan view, and it is accordance with the spirit of the times, with the temper and the atmosphere with which we wish to promote the civilized world." 3 decades later, sentiments have changed in the wake of unrest in Assam due to increasing migration from Bangladesh, as well as the influx of refugees from Sri Lanka following the civil war there. The time has come to tighten up our citizenship laws. We cannot be generous at the cost of our own people, at the cost of our own development, said P. Chidambaram, Union Minister of State, Home Affairs, while introducing the Citizenship Amendment Bill in the Lok Sabha in 1986. America's once considered itself as a melting pot, welcoming immigrants to become citizens, but has lately abandoned the metaphor for the salad bowl of distinct ethnicities. The rise of identity politics as well as political Islam has led to this desire to refine citizenship, says Professor Mathu. It will certainly result in reduced immigration, both legal and illegal. Of the 47.8 million immigrants living in US in 2023, 2.8 were born in India, the second largest group after those born in Mexico, according to the data analyzed by Pew Research Center. Of 1,45,000 people born in India and estimated to have arrived in the US in 22 legally and illegally. There are estimated to be 7,25,000 illegal immigrants from India living in the US every year. More than 70% of the H-1B visas, a temporary work visa that is often seen as a pathway to permanent residency, are issued to Indian citizens. There are more than 3,30,000 Indians in the US on student visas, many of whom to apply for a permanent residency. Over a million Indians, including dependents, are also waiting for employment-based green cards. For many of them, Mr. Trump's order comes as a blow. Reports have emerged of dozens of pregnant women on temporary visas seeking to give birth prematurely before the order comes into effect so that children can be born as US citizens. Rise of a black swan. The Chinese entrepreneur who established a quantum hedge fund in 2015 and led to a massive success, has shaken the global artificial intelligence landscape with his language and reasoning model DeepSeek R1. Statistical mathematician Nasib Taleb, in his seminal work The Black Swan, defines black swan moments as highly improbable events with significant impact that are often rationalized with hindsight. In 2008, the global financial meltdown, a black swan event that began in the US, wiped out trillions of dollars, causing traders to scramble to fulfill margin call requests. Algorithmic trading, particularly high frequency trading, was identified as the contributing factor to market volatility during the crisis. As the effects of the financial crisis hits global markets far away across the Pacific Ocean, 23-year-old Liang Wenfeng along with its classmates were gathering data on financial markets and macroeconomic indicators with the goal of exploring the full potential of algorithmic trading. Finance wasn't the first industry that piqued Mr. Lang's interest in testing emerging technology and algorithmic frameworks, but it became his domain at that point in time. Despite challenges and setbacks, Mr. Liang remained steadfast in his belief that the machine learning and artificial intelligence had the potential to revolutionize the world fundamentally. He was proved right when AI language model launched by his startup DeepSeek disrupted the global AI landscape and triggered a meltdown of chip stocks worldwide this week. Mr. Liang pursued his master's in information and communications engineering at Zhejiang University before relocating to the southwestern Chinese of the Chengdu. Instead of securing a job at a prominent tech firms like his peers, he ventured into uncharted territory determined to leverage AI and ML in the rapidly evolving finance landscape. With, with a few Zhejiang University alumni by his side, Mr. Liang founded High Flyer, a quantitative hedge fund in 2015. High Flyer quickly gained recognition, amassing 20 billion yuan in assets under the management AUM. Within a few years, the fund's success can be contributed to its adoption of sophisticated algorithms to enhance trading strategies by harnessing large datasets and optimizing decision-making processes. High flyers achieved remarkable returns. Technology remained at the heart of firm's operations. Under Mr. Liang's leadership, High Flyer invested in high-performance computing resources and assembled a dedicated team of engineers and data scientists. The strategic focus on technology coupled with firms' local expertise proved pivotal in a market where understanding local dynamics was paramount. While foreign hedge funds also possess superior technology, High Flyer's localized knowledge enabled it to outperform its competitors in the Chinese market. Mr. Liang's success isn't solely attributed to his firm's sophisticated algorithms and deep knowledge of the local market. He also set himself apart from the other local funds in his approach to talent acquisition. He challenged the traditional hiring practices in the tech and finance industries by prioritizing creativity, passion, and basic skills over work experience. He actively recruited younger workers, believing less experienced employees are more likely to innovate and think critically about solving problems. Mr. Liang viewed experienced professionals as rigid in their approach, quickly recommending established methods, while inexperienced workers to be more willing to explore multiple solutions and adapt to current challenges. This philosophy extended to his hiring strategy of bringing diverse backgrounds, particularly those from literary fields, into engineering teams. Unlike most founding teams of the Chinese quant investing funds who have backgrounds in Europe or the US, Mr. Liang's team at High Flyer is entirely driven by local talent. His fund was founded by a team of local professionals who grew independently. Within 6 years of establishment, High Flyer achieved remarkable success, becoming one of the top four quant investing funds in the China with an AUM of 100 billion yuan, $13.9 billion. This achievement was particularly noteworthy considering Mr. Liang's outsider status in the hedge fund world. The success can be attributed to his ability to thrive in challenging circumstances. From the financial crisis of 2008, he demonstrated resilience and continued to grow his business. And from on August 24, 2015, during the launch of High Flyer, the Shanghai Composite Index experienced a significant decline of 8.5%, making marking its worst single day drop in 8 years. This event was dubbed as Black Monday by the Communist Party of China's mouthpiece People's Daily. During the Trump, both Donald Trump and Joe Biden Chinese firms, including High Flyer, faced restrictions on exports due to export control. These policies curtailed access to crucial semiconductors, particularly NVIDIA GPUs for Chinese companies. Despite these challenges, Mr. Liang's expertise in quant investing and his sophisticated technology enabled him to build a billion-dollar empire. However, in 23, the $200 billion hedge fund industry came the crosshairs of Chinese finance regulators as Beijing sought to restore retail investor confidence and mitigate substantial 4 trillion sell-off in stocks. Fast-growing quant funds such as High Flyer became targets of regulatory attention. These developments prompted Mr. Liang to pivot his focus towards AI. In the same year, he launched DeepSeek, the AI lab focused on building large language and reasoning models. The company's DeepSeek R1 model has emerged as a rival to US OpenAI's advanced reasoning model. Although DeepSeek was officially established in 23, Mr. Liang's preparation for journey began long ago. He has been making AI investments for over 7 years, from around the time the transformer architecture inspired OpenAI to build their generative pre-trained models. As far as back as 2017, DeepSeek founder began expanding the scope of research in AI algorithm and software. His team solved the single machine training failure problem with a large scale computing power solution. and won the Golden Bull Award for it in Malaysia the following year. Subsequently, in 21, his fund spent 1 billion yuan to build an AI supercomputer, Firefly 2, to handle complex AI tasks. The system was built with superfast accelerator cards and a network connection that could transfer data at a 200 gigabytes per second. Under Mr. Liang's leadership, the Quant Fund had already amassed an impressive collection of computational resources, including 10,000 NVIDIA A100 GPUs, positioning as a dominant force in AI field. According to some experts, Highflyer is the only hedge fund among five Chinese companies with more than 10,000 GPUs. The other four are all internet giants. Mr. Liang's impact on AI research is profound and multifaceted. DeepSeek has injected fresh energy and perspectives into the field, challenging prevailing paradigms and opening new avenues and breakthroughs in the understanding human cognition through AI. In his book, Mr. Taleb notes, we tend to tunnel while looking into the future, making it business as usual, black swan free, when in fact there is nothing usual about the future. Mr. Liang, to those viewing the future through a tunnel, is a black swan formed through adversity that happens to have opened the door to an unexpected new chapter in AI research and possibly in quant investing. Man of the party Pushkar Singh Dhami, and under the two-time BJP Chief Minister, Uttarakhand has become the first Indian state to roll out the Uniform Civil Code. It was a sultry day on July 3, 2021, and the political temperature in the hill state of Uttarakhand was equally hot as the ruling BJP was set to announce a new chief minister, third one in the past 4 months. Name of bigwigs were making rounds in the political corridors and channel rooms as it was being anticipated that the Saffron Party would choose a popular figure for a stable government in a politically unstable state. But the party high command in Delhi followed the president of throwing surprises and chose the then 45-year-old Khatima MLA Pushkar Singh Dhami for the top job. Equally surprised by the announcement like others, Mr. Dhami termed himself Mukhya Sevak, as he expressed gratitude to the party leadership for nurturing him as a politician and electing a two-time MLA as the youngest CM of the state. Ever since, his rise has been steady. Last week, under Mr. Dhami's leadership, Uttarakhand has become the first Indian state to roll out the controversial Uniform Civil Code almost a year after State's Assembly passed the Uttarakhand Uniform Civil Code Bill 2024. Born on September 15, 1975, in a remote village in Pithoragarh district of undivided Uttar Pradesh, Mr. Dhami became the first in the family to complete post-graduation. He finished law degree in Lucknow University, followed by a PG in Human Resource Management and postgraduate diploma in public administration. He started going to the Shakha of the Rashtriya Swayam Sevak Sangh while being a student at the university in Lucknow. Mr. Dhami met Bhagat Singh Koshyari, the second Chief Minister of Uttarakhand, who lastly served as the Governor of Maharashtra. The two shared the same caste, Thakur, and hailed from the Kumaon region of the present-day Uttarakhand. Mr. Koshyari told the Hindu that he, in the very first meeting, saw a leader in Mr. Dhami's personality who had joined the ABVP, student wing of the RSS, in the early 1990s. BJP insiders called Mr. Koshyari the political guru of Mr. Dhami, but the former CM humbly denies the same. Between 2002 and 12, Mr. Dhami worked for the party in the back end, patiently waited for the right opportunity to come to the forefront. BJP leaders who are in the current cabinet of Mr. Dhami had denied him a ticket in 2007, says party insider. The party, however, made him the president of the Bharatiya Janata Yuva Morcha, the youth wing of the BJP, for two terms from 2002 to 2008. It was in 2012 that Mr. Dhami became an MLA for the first time from the Khatima constituency. Ever since, he has remained one of the 70 lawmakers in the Uttarakhand Assembly. After he was chosen as the chief minister, Mr. Dhami knew that the journey ahead would not be smooth as his predecessors failed to finish their tenures for various reasons, including resentment of the party cadre and legislatures. Known for adapting to the good qualities of the seniors, Mr. Dhami became Another N.D. Tiwari, the third CM of Uttarakhand, who was famous for meeting and greeting both the party and opposition leaders. His people friendly approach earned him admirers and supporters and strengthened his position in Delhi in the 22 elections. Even after Mr. Dhami lost his own constituency, he kept the chief minister's post, becoming the first leader in the history of Hill State to get two consecutive terms. Later, he contested and won from Champawat. In his tenure of over 3.5 years, he brought stringent laws such as anti-cheating law, Uttarakhand Public-Private Property Damage Recovery Ordinance Act, and now the much talked about Uniform Civil Code. Mr. Dhami says it's just the start and he will continue walking down the path shown by the party, which he has fulfilled its promises of Ram Temple constructed, which has fulfilled its promises of Ram Temple constructed in Ayodhya, revocation of special status of Jammu and Kashmir, among others. Culture warrior Peter Hegseth, Trump's defense secretary, says reclamation of warrior culture is at the core of his strategy, rebuilding the US military and reestablishing deterrence. Culture warrior Pete Hegseth said during his confirmation hearing before a US Senate committee that his profile did not match any of those who preceded him as Secretary of Defense in the past 30 years. That he is a rank outsider is a claim that his supporters and detractors exaggerate to underscore his qualification and disqualification, as the case may be. Pete Hegseth said during his confirmation hearing before the US Senate committee that his profile did not match any of those who preceded him as the Secretary of Defense in the past 30 years. That he is a rank outsider is a claim that supporters and his detractors exaggerate to underscore his qualifications and disqualification, as the case may be. Generals, academicians, and former executives of defense companies usually made the cut, but he was unique for he has his boots dirty in the war fields of Iraq and Afghanistan. He told the committee. A grenade that landed in his vehicle in Iraq did not explode, giving him a second chance at life, in which the Princeton graduate has risen to lead the US Defense Department. He now leads 3 million personnel and oversees a budget of $849 billion. $849 billion का budget है. Mr. Hegseth promises